Welcome back to another biblical deep dive where we are currently going through Genesis, the creation story, verse by verse. Don't worry, the whole thing won't be verse by verse, and there will be many other things like questions and things. But anyway, let's get into it. New International Version. And God said, "Let there be light," and there was light. New Living Translation says the exact same thing besides then instead of and. English Standard, exact same thing. Burns Study Bible, exact same thing. King James Version. And God said, "Let there be light," and there was light with no quotations. New King James has quotation marks. And the word then. American Standard says the exact same thing. NASB 1995 says the exact same thing. NASB 1997 says the exact same thing as 1995. Amplified, surprisingly, says the exact same thing. Although, here's an interesting one. Contemporary English version. God said, "I command light to shine." And light started shining. I find that one interesting. Dury Ramsey's Bible. God said, "Be light made," and light was made. What kind of clunky translation is that? Oh, this one, Good News Translation, "and light appeared." Oh, International Standard Version, "So there was light." Literal Standard Version, "And God says, let light be," and light is. Also, when Jesus is called the light of the world and stuff, no, this isn't the creation of Jesus. That is a heresy. Jesus was never created. Anyway, his incarnation, yes, he became incarnate and had human nature add on to it. Godly, but yes, he was not created. Yeah, and they all basically say it's the same thing. Young's literal translation, "And God saith. Yeah, you think okay? You think the King James version has English? "Let light be," and light is. Yes. Then there's some cross references like Corinthians 4:6. For God who said, "Let light shine out of darkness," made his light shine in our hearts to give us the light of the knowledge of the glory of God in the face of Jesus Christ. Like light, like the light you see, this little different light. God's light, yes. Or Matthew 8:3, "And Jesus put forth his hand and touched them, saying, I will, be thou clean." And immediately his leprosy was cleaned. I don't know what that has to do with light. Okay, whatever. You know what? We're going to do some different, something a little different. Some interpretations from Wikipedia. Augustine of Hippo, in his City of God, sees the verse as indicating not only that God had made the world, but he also had made it by the Word. The words, "let there be light," are the first divine words in the Bible. Well, they are the first words in the Bible. The Latin for "let there be light," Felix Lux, and this description of creation is command has led to theological phrases, creation by Fad, F-I-A-T. In the words of Peter Kefter, God simply spoke and it came to be. Goran von Rad said the most radical distinction between the creator and creation cannot be even remotely considered an emotion from God. It is not somehow an overflow or a reflection of his being, i.e., of his divine nature, but rather a product of his personal will. God wants the universe to be, and thus it is. I say that pretty much sums it up. Saint Basil, I don't know, emphasizes the role of light in making the universe beautiful, as does Saint Ambrose, who writes, "But the good author utters the word light so that he might reveal the world by infusing brightness therein, and thus makes its aspect beautiful. The light is described as being created here before the sun, moon, and stars which appear on the fourth day. In some Jewish interpretations, the light created here is a primordial light, different in nature and in nature form, and brighter than that associated with the sun. The light has also been interpreted metaphorically and has been connected to Psalm 104, where God is described as wrapping himself in light. Also, apparently some writers have seen a connection between this verse and the Big Bang in physical cosmology. If you want to know more about that, Inspiring Philosophy probably has some videos on it. Yes, that God created light. Let there be light. If you haven't done that when you're like walking into a room of automatic lights, yes, God created the world. And I saw this one comic. It's like, how could there have been light when there wasn't a sun yet? Do you know the common scientific creation of the universe, where light existed far before there were really the sun? Other things produce light, like other stars, and even before then. It's like, this is a very poorly made comic. Anyway. And when did this happen? Well, it just happened. It just happened. Time didn't exist before then. It wasn't really before. And it was. God created the heavens and the earth. Okay. And God said, voice and sound there could be none, nor was there any person to whom God addressed this word of power. Yeah. The phrase then is metaphorical and means that God enhanced for the universe a law, and 10 times we find the command similarly given. The beauty and simplicity of the language used here often been noticed. God makes no preposition. He employs no means, needs no secondary agency. He speaks and it is done. His word alone contains all things necessary for the fulfillment of his will. So in the congruent languages, the word emir, ruler, is literally speaker. the Supreme One speaks with the rest of here is to obey. God then, by speaking, gives to nature a universal and enduring law. His commands are not temporary, but eternal, and whatever secondary cause were called into existence when the Elohim, by a word, created light, those same causes produce it now, and will produce it until God recalls his word. We have then, here, nature's first universal law. What is it? Interesting. What is it? Let there be light. And notice how all creation stories, like, oh, the gods fought, the gods killed each other, the gods, like, ripped apart. There was this, like, weird primordial thing before that always existed. The gods were born out of it, or an egg or something. Then sometimes, they called other gods, they produced other gods. God, earth, universe, light, snap, snap, snap. All of them happen instantaneously. God says it, and it shall be. Yes. Then, pulpit. The evolution of the cosmos were accomplished by a series of divine formative works, which exceeded over six consecutive days. In the character of those cosmic labors, a progression is distinctly visible, though not continuous throughout, unless with Aristotle, the celestial luminaries are regarded as that is Greek. It's literally Greek. And so classed in the category of organized and living beings, it is impossible to find their production and advance upon the preceding vegetation. Arbitrary transportations of the days, as of the third day and fourth, in order to make the first half of the creative week and inorganic and the second half inorganic, and the second half organic era are inadmissible. The arrangement of the days that occurs most exactly with the requirements of the case, and most successful perversions. The order and correction of the record is that which divides them into 2/3 tars. Yes, light, air, water, dry land, plants. Let's see, are there any other interesting commentaries? Yeah, some Matthew Henry's God said, let there be light. He willed it, and at once light was, oh, the power of God. And of the new creation. The light which God willed, he approved of. Yes, God divided the light from the darkness. For what fellowship has light with darkness? In heaven there is perfect light and no darkness at all. In hell are darkness and no gleam of light. The day and the night are the Lord's, and let us use both to his honor by working for him every day and resting in him every night, meditating in his law both day and night. Okay. Barnes, do you have anything interesting? Light is simply what makes a sensible impression on the organs of vision. It belongs to a class of things which occasionally produce the same effect. Okay. Do with that as you will. Okay, that's enough for the comment. Okay. And God comes from a word, Elohim, which was this a general catch-all term for all angels. demons, spirits, and, of course, the Almighty, the one and only. Said, to say, to utter, or say, let there be, to fall out, come to pass, become, and be, light, illumination and luminary. And there was, to fall out, to come past, to become, to be. It's two different words that mean the same thing. English, normal. Light. Illumination, yeah. That again. But yes, the let there be light. Let there be light is the first words of the Bible. Well, not the first words, first spoken words of the Bible. Yes. I think that's about it for this one. But notice how, this complicated process of God's violence, all sorts of things. The Hebrew language, the Bible only has one real creation story, and it's showing how God, the one true God, created everything. There were no other gods with him. There was no other gods to help. There was no other gods that created anything else. It was all him and his doing. Go watch my other stuff. I don't know.